Hi everyone, it's Diane back to another session of Here's What I've Been Thinking About. And this week's topic is about public speaking and presenting and speaking with impact, commanding a room, influencing others. Really, it's about getting messages across. You know, so many people do anything they possibly can to avoid having to speak publicly. And the great thing about public speaking is it's actually a skill, not a talent. And what that means is that anybody can learn to be a better presenter, a better speaker, a better facilitator of meetings, a better communicator, articulator, person who can speak with impact and really figure out how to get your message across. And in a leadership role or as an emerging leader, it's so important that we practice that and that we get better and better at doing that. So today we're going to spend some time talking about some things to think about and hopefully help you as you try to figure out how to develop your skill as a speaker. So the first thing that I think we need to talk about is that there are opportunities to express yourself publicly all the time, whether you're talking to one other person, whether you're talking to a group of 3 people, whether you're facilitating a staff meeting, whether you're presenting to a large group, asking for funding, looking for support for a program or a service, all sorts of opportunities to actually get in front of other people and express your opinion. And so when we can't do that, that really stifles, I think, our growth. So it's important that we actually figure out how to grow and develop this skill. Public speaking is something that we do every day, and the best thing about that is we've got so many opportunities to practice. Now, a world of Zoom and virtual stuff has changed that a little bit because sometimes we have an audience who is just a one-way audience, like me talking to you right now. I have no idea if you're rolling your eyes, shrugging your shoulders, nodding your head vigorously, taking notes, checking your phone. I don't know. So that's one of the things that's changed, certainly in virtual presentations. When we're talking to a group of people and we're all in the same room together, it's very different because you can read the room and you can understand whether your point is getting across or you need to figure out how to say things differently. But regardless, there are plenty of opportunities to practice, and that's really what I would encourage you to do most, is to figure out how you can practice speaking up and getting your point across and persuading others and really thinking about what it is that you want to say and how it is you want to say it. Another thing with public speaking that I think is a myth is that some people don't get nervous. Well, here's what I think. I think everybody gets nervous. And you know what? I think the best public speakers actually get the most nervous. The difference is that they've figured out a way to channel those nerves, that adrenaline, into an enthusiastic, passionate, articulate presentation. And so I think the thing is that, we need to let go of not getting nervous. And what we need to do is we need to embrace that and use those nerves in a positive way to make sure that whatever it is that we're trying to get across happens in as I say, an enthusiastic, passionate kind of a way. The other thing about learning how to public speak is that perfection is unattainable. And so it's not about perfection. It's about being authentic. It's about being yourself. It's about bringing yourself to the audience and actually being as natural as you possibly can. So practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes authentic. And the more you practice being authentic, the more authentic you become. Be yourself. If you're a funny person, use humor. If you're a serious person, use data. If you're a person who really feels very passionate about a subject, tell stories about that subject and really engage your audience in that. And speaking of engaging your audience, the other thing about public speaking is it's actually all about your audience. It's not about you. And this is sometimes what happens to us when we get nervous and we get overwhelmed by our nerves when we're public speaking, is we think it's all about us. And again, the best public speakers, the people who really understand how to get their points across, are those that actually know that it's about the audience. It's about engaging the audience. It's about building trust and rapport with the audience. It's about either using humor or making sure that you start with the why, as Simon Sinek says, where people understand where it is that you're going with the topic and why it is that that should be important to both you and them. So engaging with your audience and getting out of your own head. It's about your audience. It's not about you. And the other thing is, it's actually about exercising leadership with your voice and projecting with confidence and with competence and being prepared. And we'll talk about that more in a bit. But really, when you think about how to develop leadership in your voice, you have to practice. It's the only way to do it. So practice talking to a computer screen. Practice talking in the mirror. Practice talking to people you know. Practice talking when you're driving or when you're walking. Speak up. Hear your voice. That way you won't be surprised when you hear your voice when you're actually public speaking. So the more of that you can do, the more confident that you feel. Some people are more natural public speakers, I think, or it comes a little bit easier to them. But I don't believe that it comes really easily to anyone, particularly if they're really trying to get a message across. And so what you need to know is you too can develop this skill. There's not a secret society of public speakers. You can get better at it. And so some of the ways that we can get better at it are called the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and perform. So let's talk about preparation first. Russell Wilson, my favorite Seattle Seahawks quarterback, always says the separation's in the preparation. And with public speaking, that could not be more true. The more prepared you are, the better. And even the most spontaneous speakers are actually super prepared. They may not have notes in front of them, but in their head, they have thought through what it is that they want to talk about, what it is that actually is the message, what the end, they start with the end in mind, they know why. So when they're spontaneous, they've got all that stuff in their head and they can actually articulate it in a way that makes sense. Start again, do your homework, understand your audience, understand who you're talking to, figure out how it is that you can connect what it is that you're trying to say to your audience. Make sure that you have a common understanding of why that's important. The more you connect with your audience, the more you do your homework, the more prepared you are, the better your speaking will go. Make notes. Make notes in your own way, though. Don't make notes to read. We've all been to presentations where people will read. They'll read their notes and never look up. Or they'll read the PowerPoint and we're thinking, you know what, I just read that. I don't need to hear you say that. So when you make notes, that's an essential part. It's the best way I know to be prepared. But when you're actually preparing, you're not making notes to read. You're making notes to trigger your next thought. And that's part of your preparation. And what I would say from my own experience is your notes can shrink over time. So when you're first starting out, you may have a lot of notes. When you're actually feeling pretty confident about your public speaking, your notes may be very short, but they are on point. They are on key message. And so you don't have, you're prepared, but you don't have the, the desire to actually just read something, because that's not a good public speech. It's not a good way to get your point across. If you want people to read something, then what I would suggest is you send them an email to read. If you want to actually present something, then you know what? Talk about it. Talk about it in a way that engages the audience. The more prepared you are, the more confident you will be. Straight up. Preparation equals confidence. So that's the preparation. Practice, we talked about saying it out loud. Say it in a mirror. Say it in the car. The other thing is time yourself. We've all been to presentations that somebody says, oh, this will take about 15 minutes, and a half an hour later you're thinking, okay, what happened to 15 minutes? If you say a presentation is going to be 15 minutes, take 15 minutes. The only way you can do that is by practicing and timing yourself. Have somebody cue you, or have a PowerPoint slide that says, you know what, when I get to this slide, I've got 2 minutes left. Timing yourself is really important. The last thing to talk about is performing. So here's the thing. First and foremost, give yourself a break. What's the worst thing that could happen? The audience all gets up and leaves. People throw things at you. People laugh you out of the room. Somebody falls asleep. Even the best speakers have people fall asleep on them. I don't think that's about you. It's about the audience, really. What's the worst thing that could happen? And that's important because we blow these things out of proportion in our head, and then it becomes all about us. But actually, when you start to think about the worst thing, you can always recover from the worst thing. Absolutely. Be yourself. Be authentic. Again, practice makes authentic. Because when you're authentic, you increase your connection with the audience. The audience can relate to you. The audience, you say, man, I almost missed this. I had a traffic jam, my this and that happened. It's been a terrible morning so far, but I'm here now and I'm glad for it. Well, automatically people are saying, oh man, okay, I can relate to that. So again, being yourself and increasing your connection with your audience. Sometimes when we're preparing, breathing helps. And I know for me, that helps me. So if I'm about to do a presentation, I always take a couple of deep breaths beforehand. Kind of get in the zone. I'm mindful, being present, making sure that you are saying, okay, I'm prepared for this. I'm confident. I'm ready to go. Take my deep breaths. Off I go. So when you're standing up at a podium, you're prepared. You're there. You've already breathed. You've already said to yourself, you're prepared for this. I'm confident. Off you go. And then being present, enjoying the moment, which sometimes people think, oh man, how could I enjoy that? What I want to do is rush through this so I can hurry up and sit down again. Again, it's about your audience. It's not about you. So the more you are able to prepare and to practice and to perform, the more likely the audience will be inspired, or the audience will really appreciate what it is that you have to say. And I think that when you are called upon to present something, or when there is a message you want to get across, you know what that message is. And so again, the more you can connect with the audience, the better off you and the audience are. What I'd strongly encourage you to do is to take a look at some of the great speakers in our world, in our society, in our history. There are plenty of them. Fantastic speakers. TED Talks is a great place to start. Lots and lots of really innovative ways to capture the imagination of an audience. Find a topic that interests you. Find a speaker that you like listening to, and watch and listen to what they do. YouTube, the internet is full of all sorts of people. And the other thing is, for people who are really keen, something like Toastmasters is actually a really cool way to improve your skills. And again, I'd encourage you to go to the website, Toastmasters website, to check that out. So hopefully those are some things to think about. Again, remember, this is about being authentic, not being perfect. The more prepared you are, the more confident you are. And I wish you luck in looking for those opportunities where you can speak to a broader audience as part of your leadership development journey. All right, great to see you today. Thanks so much. We'll see you again next time.